Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live chat. This is Sow and Tare, and I'm Katrina. And I need to turn the volume off on my phone. We do live chat every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and so that is what we're doing when we're doing it. And I generally have a topic in the middle of the chat. And not generally, I do, unless we get to it first, which we might tonight. But welcome. If you would like to talk about something or you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll talk about it. If we're talking about something and you want to talk about something else, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll go to your topic. So there you go. Let me scroll back up because it looks like you guys have been here a little bit. Ed made it. Welcome, Ed. He says, haha, first comment. I made it this time. And Steve says, I'll give you first. We had some reminding going on. Dawn's laughing at you guys. Hi, Dawn. Everybody's saying hi. Steve says, CBS said the price of eggs is so high because we've been replacing beef and pork with eggs, and each person eats as many eggs as one chicken can lay in a day. Oh, and avian flu too. I haven't heard about that. Is that because the beef and pork were getting expensive, and so people were eating eggs as a protein instead of those? I have not heard that. I do know that, was it last week? Last week, sometime in the recent past, I went to Costco and to get milk, and that's also where they keep the eggs, and there were no eggs. Zero. Not even a place for them. So I don't know if they had a recall or if they had something else going on, but there were no eggs. So I was very surprised about that. Yeah, so I'm glad that I have eggs. I have my quail. Chickens aren't laying right now, but they'll start laying when the sun gives us longer days a little bit. Yeah. Oh, okay, so Steve is correcting himself. Oops, not in a day. Each person eats as many eggs as one hen can lay in a year. Could be. Yeah. Aaron's here. Hey, Aaron. Aaron says hi to everybody. Steve says, hey there, Aaron. How is life in the bayou? You wrestle any gators? Uh-oh. Ed's finishing dinner. That's all right. Steve had cabbage soup for dinner. I don't think I've ever had cabbage soup. I like cabbage. I like green cabbage better than red cabbage. But I know it's diuretic. That's all I know. It's good for you. Yeah. Where's Verna? I don't know where she is. I know she was gone last time, but we just started, so it's okay. Ed says, I had processed chicken and 8 ounces of mushrooms. Cool. I have not eaten yet. I'm probably going to have leftover soup. We opened some soup the other day that I made and canned a while ago, and so probably going to have that, which we added rabbit to, and we added some more bone broth too. So yeah. Oh, and noodles. We added noodles too. Don't can noodles. If you're making soup with noodles in it, you can't can the noodles. So that's something you add later. Hey, Gidros is here. Hey, hope you're doing well. Everybody say hi. Oh, so Steve says, yes, it was for the protein replacement, talking about eggs versus beef and pork. Everything's expensive. That's just all there is to. I think I said last week. Was it last week I was talking about it? I went in and I got Ritz crackers for something and hadn't been in that aisle in a very long time, and ended up taking a tour of the store after just to see the prices, and it's really ridiculous, because I just go in and go out, go and get what I need, get out usually. Yeah. Dawn saying hi. Oh, I might have already said that. Dawn says, I have yet to find out if eggs went up here yet or not. They were reasonable last month. Only shop once a month. Yeah, we stopped to get avocados in one of the local grocery stores, and there was a dozen eggs for $9. So that's definitely up, for sure. And then I think Grocery Outlet, which is the cheaper chain, had it for like $7 or 7.50 or something like that for a dozen. So yeah, they're definitely up for sure. Steve says, "Oh, hey there, Guidro's family." Aaron says, "How is the rain?" That's my topic. I have another topic too, but that's my topic. So yeah, we got rain. If anybody who's been following the radar in California knows that the entirety of California basically got rain, and the majority of California was in a flood warning. We had one storm go through mostly last night. It was yesterday afternoon, last night, and it's pretty much done now. It hasn't been raining for a little bit, but it dropped. I do a 24-hour precipitation report with Kokoros, and Kokoros. If you want to look that up, you can look that up. But it's 24-hour reporting, and so this morning I checked it, and it was 2.23 inches. Now, that's over 24 hours, but it did not rain a whole lot yesterday. That mostly came last night. And this morning, my screen and porch had tons of water in it and just wet, not like standing water. And the area that when we had aerial flooding is what they call it, which when it comes down so much that nothing can soak in or move off, or it just on flat land, you can have puddles, right? That's where it overtops the gutters onto the screen and porch, and then it finds its way into the porch in weird places. So there was a puddle in that place that happens. And then there's this morning on the way out to the rain gauge, there's a sidewalk that I walk on, and it is flat. And there was about that much water that I was walking in because it had rained so much it hadn't gone anywhere yet. It didn't have time to go anywhere yet. So yes, we got a lot of rain, and I did take a picture. I went down to the crossing I've been keeping you guys kind of up on, and went down to the crossing today. And where's my pictures? There it is. I don't know if I can show you this. I don't know if you'll pick up. I'll show you guys. But that same crossing, you guys see that? So that's the crossing. You can see, let's see. Down there is where we took that first video. And those are the other floodgates. Or not floodgates, but those are the road closure gates. So yeah, it's flooding. Highway 101 flooded completely, where Uvis Creek passes under it or over it, as the case may be. And I had a coworker actually that had gone down that way in the morning earlier, and then as he was driving back, he said he was driving on 6 inches of water going north, and that there was a couple feet on the southbound lane, and they had closed it shortly after he got through. So yeah, we have some water. There are some places that are evacuated. I am not in any of those areas, but there are places that have been evacuated. I know the storm in 2017 that we had a really fierce storm that year. I think it was a couple atmospheric rivers similar to this that came through. And there's a big dam called Anderson Dam, and there's a reservoir behind it. And that actually overtopped, and then it let out water, and it actually ended up flooding part of San Jose that year. This year, the dam is at a dead pool on purpose because they have not fixed it. So it has the potential to fail if earthquakes are there, and they're going through this lengthy permitting process to get that rebuilt. And so while they're waiting on that, they have to keep it at a dead pool. And the dead pool means they've pumped out as much water as they can. or maybe not pumped out, but let out of the gates. So I'm sure there's quite a sizable puddle in there, more than a puddle, but I'm going to imagine that they will just keep those gates open um, and let it flow. So we have 2 reservoirs that I know. There's more. I just keep track of 2 that are closest, that overtopped. And yeah, we have lots of water. The yard itself is completely fine. I'm having wood chips. I have wood chips, and the pathways are this thick. So I don't have any muddy areas. The animals are fine. Everybody's fine here. But yeah, I don't have muddy areas because I have wood chips. And what's neat about the wood chips is that will hold water for quite some time. So it'll be interesting to see how long it holds water, to see what happens in the summer. Because what happens is, because it's a wood chip, it's wood. If you guys have ever left a piece of like a 2x4 out in the rain, and then like a storm happened, and then you pick it up, man, it's heavy, right? It soaks in. Same things happen to the wood chips. And so basically it's like this big sponge and it soaks it all in, and it stays there for quite some time. So I think that's going to be really good for the trees, as long as it doesn't rain so much that it rots the roots, which I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think the only plant I have that could be an issue for is avocado. But it is planted on a mound for that reason, because they are known to have that issue. So I don't think I'm going to have that issue. Anyway, that's a good question. So my property is completely fine. The pond overflow did get it did not percolate down all the way fast enough, and so the pond did go outside its bounds a little bit, but when we don't have rain, it definitely has caught up some. So that's good. If you're digging a pond in your yard or in your property, if you're concerned if it goes outside its bounds and you don't want it to go outside its bounds, definitely dig an overflow. And how I did that is I just, with a shovel, I dug and dug and dug and dug and dug. And that overflow is probably about 4.5 feet deep and maybe 3.5, 4 feet wide. And what I did is I dug until I got to a layer that percolated. So if you fill a 5-gallon bucket full of water, pour it down there, do you see the water disappear? So, and you don't, then you keep digging and then dig further from that point. And then once that happened, I put landscape fabric in and lava rock, because it is porous, but also holds its shape, right? I put lava rock in there and then covered it back up with the landscape cloth, and then put my wood chips on top of it. So there's your quick tutorial on how to do that. And in that one thing, I have both downspouts from the backside of the house plus the pond overflow. So it's getting quite a bit of water, and it's been able to generally keep up. So it's good. Yeah, good question. Let me scroll up. Oh, Diana's here. Diana Tuttle Tut Farms. Hey, just hatched out 30 baby quail. Yay. Congratulations. That is awesome. Steve says our eggs are $4.86 a dozen, but I eat quail eggs. I have a great supplier. Yeah. I'm guessing the $4.86 is the chicken egg price. Yeah, your California is more expensive than where you are. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah. Everybody's congratulating Diana. Don says last month eggs here were $3.89 a dozen, but I haven't bought any in months because, like you, I have quail eggs coming out my ears right now. Yeah. What is a normal price in the Midwest for eggs? Because I don't know that, and I don't know for chicken eggs. I think at one point it was like $3 or $3.99 or something, but it hasn't been that for a long time here. I think it's been like $5-6 for a long time here. But again, it depends on where you go. And like grocery outlet's going to be different than Nob Hill, you know. Yeah, I don't think you guys have Nob Hill in the Midwest. It's more kind of a more ritzy one. So Diana says, thanks, our eggs are also over $4. Yeah. Ed says Walmart 36 count eggs here is $16.26. 36 count. Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot. Hey, Andy Rabbit's here. Hello, she says. Hello. Oh, and you had mentioned there was a football player. He did not die on the field. You had mentioned that last week. He did have a heart attack and he's in the hospital, I believe. So, yeah. Ed says last year, same time, same amount, 36 count eggs was $3.47. Oh my gosh. $3.47 to $16.26. And you're sure that was for an 18 pack? Man. Aaron says, Ed, my 36 count eggs are $9. You know, they're so expensive. Oh, Ed's asking, is that what you sell them for, or is that what you're seeing in the store? Yeah. Steve says we got 60 for 23. 60 of chicken eggs? Andy Rabbit says, I think eggs here was about $3 yesterday, $7 for large organic a dozen. Aaron says $3 a dozen for chicken and quail eggs. Wow. Yeah, so that's another thing that I noticed, like at grocery outlet, they have the big like packs, right? That I don't even know how many they are. They might be 36. And then they also have, I think they're 20 count actually. It's some weird number. And then they also have like the regular carton of 12, and then they have like pasture free range stuff. And then they also have the same thing just with the blue and the brown eggs, which they can mark up because they have a different color, which is silly because it's the same thing. Like those eggs are not any more or less healthy for you than other eggs, than the white eggs, but people have perception that they are, which is marketing. It's marketing. Yeah. Dawn says, "Ooh, dumb neighbor dug a hole in his yard, filled it with wood chips, and turned it into a mosquito breeding ground, and has to be treated every year because of West Nile." Wow, yeah, that's different. I know here they want you to do wood chip basins for your trees, but it's I believe it has to be covered then with dirt, but I might be wrong. I might actually be wrong with that. But they want you to do that near your trees. But you guys get a lot more rain than we do usually. Now we're getting a lot. So yeah, that might be an issue. Wow. Steve says for us, 179 would be, or used to be, the going rate. That's cheap. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that ever here. Yeah. Don says chicken eggs in South Central Illinois last month were $3.89 at Aldi. And yes, Don, Andy Rabbit made it. Yeah, Andy Rabbit says, I'm so glad the football player didn't die. It was scary watching it live on TV. I'm sure it was. Yeah, and I wouldn't have even like paid attention to anything football had you not mentioned it. So I'm glad he's in the hospital. Sounds like there's recovery, but yeah. Ed says, yes, I can go in my Walmart app and look back at the prices in November 2022. 36 count eggs were $6.36, but in December 2022, they jumped to $16.26. They jumped $10 in a month. That's crazy. I know that in California they're blaming some of, what was it, pork? No. I don't remember what animal it was. I think for some reason pork is in my head, but it's some rule that happened that about space that you need to have for an animal. Like I know chickens have to have at least a square foot of space, and which doesn't sound like much, right? It doesn't sound like much, and I think they should all have at least a square foot of space. But they have these layers that they literally just eat and lay and have these little cages, and so that's something that a couple years ago California said no, we're not doing that anymore, and people are not able to sell eggs in California that do that. And so they effectively changed the law in other states because so many people sell eggs to California. So I wonder if that's reaching through. There's something else that happened with another animal I'm not understanding. Ed says I'm buffering. Anybody else see buffering? Let me know. Buffer over. Okay. Good. Ed says, sadly, I eat a lot of eggs. Not sad. Eggs are good. She got wet in all that rain. No, we actually stayed really dry. I got a new roof last summer and don't have any leaks, so that's a good test, I guess. Got a new roof and a new skylight in the kitchen. Boy, that skylight, I babied it, the old one, for 8.5, 9 years, something like that. I kept on going up and putting silicone on it every year. It's like, okay, time for a new one. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, I'm getting a lot of quail eggs, but I don't eat a lot of quail eggs. Well, as long as you're using it or selling it, then you're good. Aaron says, I'm buffering on and off. I don't know what to do about that. I'm plugged in. I have the lights on, but not like that one time. Well, hopefully it's not too bad. So I wanted to know what you guys do for your animals or for your gardens when it rains a lot. Right now, we've had rain now for at least 2 weeks, nearly straight. We've had a couple days here and there without it. We have another storm coming in tomorrow or tonight. Actually, I should check that and see if it's tonight or tomorrow. But basically, we have another storm coming in tomorrow. But I want to know what you guys do for your gardens or for your animals when you know you're having an excess amount of water coming. Basically what I did, you guys saw, I put up that tarp on my main quail aviary. That's the only thing I needed to do, just because I pretty much had everything else covered already. But that's the only thing I needed to do. And then I actually was going to plant seeds this past weekend, but I didn't. And part of that is I just see how much rain there is, and I know I have in the past planted peas and had them rot in the ground and nothing come up, and I just don't want to do that again. So yeah, what do you guys do? No buffer here from Steve. All right, Steve, I like your internet. Andy Rabbit says, I don't sell eggs yet. I have someone asking me to, but I'm trying not to talk to her. Okay. Don says, ha, you cracked me up. Rains a lot on my garden. Sounds like that will either create disease or cold night rots everything. That's why I'm so glad I now do inside hydroponics. Yeah, that's true. You have more control, don't you? You don't quite get the rainwater is the best water for plants. That's for sure. There's a whole lot of different things in there, especially if it's a thunderstorm, because it actually makes the nitrogen in the air available to the plants in the rain. I said that weird, but it actually does something to the nitrogen in the air, and the droplets capture it and it brings to earth. And that's why after a thunderstorm, all the plants look so healthy, except for the ones cracked by lightning. Yeah. Dawn says, I start a few things now for hubby to put out, and if it grows, but I keep backup in the house. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Steve says, I don't do anything in the rain, but I don't garden either. Okay, that's fair. Aaron says, it rains so much in the winter as late summer here. We have roll down tarps for the animal pens. That is smart. We add mulch to raise the bottom of the cages so they are above the water. Also smart. Yeah, I was thinking about the roll up tarps because I am going to be putting a permanent roof on the main aviary, but then that would take away the only reason why I have that big long tarp with a board on it. You guys saw from today's video, the board is just a weight. But the only reason why I have that big long tarp is because that was the only one that would fit when I got it. And when I got it, there weren't very many tarps because it was already, people were already prepping for the rain. But it does protect it from water going in. So I think I do need to do some sort of either roll down tarp or maybe Velcro on the top. I don't know if that'll work, like underneath the eaves. It might work. I don't know. But I do need to do something like that once I build the other roof on it. Yeah. Diana Tuttle Farms says, my ducks love the rain and my garden when I let them out. They love your garden? Do they eat it? They eat your garden? Or do they eat the snails in your garden? I did feed some little snails. We have these little tiny snails like this big. They're a non-native species, as are most snails here. But they were climbing up on my house to get out of, all the wetness. So I picked some off this morning and fed them to the chickens. The chickens usually the chickens go for them. This time they're like, okay, maybe a couple. So it was interesting. Dawn says, oh, well, of course we get lots of hail that beats the plants to the ground too every year. LOL. Softball size. Wow. Was great. That is a big. All the beaten, broken garden stuff did make a comeback. Well, that's good that it made a comeback. We got hail this year a few weeks ago. And that was a little tiny hail. And for like 3 minutes. So it wasn't softball size for sure. Ed says, when I had quail, I made a cover out of old election signs, plus I have camo netting over them to keep them in shade. That's good. Yeah, I know the election signs you're talking about, those like corrugated plasticky ones. Yeah. Gidra says those roll-up tarps are the best thing we did. So did you make them or did you buy them? And if you bought them, what kind are they? Aaron says, Ed, that's the best thing about the crooks running for elections. That you have extra signs? Oh, boy. Andy Rabbit says, I plant mostly in buckets, a few of the 55-gallon buckets with holes cut around the sides of it. If it rains a lot, I don't water them. They normally do okay. Cool. Yeah, I have raised beds. You guys have seen my garden, and the raised beds, they look like they're raised only like that much. But what you don't see is that they're actually the concrete that I have in there, the urbanite, is actually 3 layers deep. It's just you don't see those because the pathway is so high in wood chips. So the actual bed is deeper, and then the native ground here is clay, which has good and not so good properties for growing. It's good because it holds on to a lot of nutrients, and it's bad because it can hold on to way too much water. So yeah, we like a happy medium, something with a little clay, but not a lot of clay. Yeah. Diana says, I'm getting ready to start onion seeds. I am getting excited to start planting seed. Yeah, so when I cleaned up the front porch a couple weeks ago, I actually found some seed packets that had been sitting there in the rain, and I'm like, I'm not going to save them, but I don't want to waste them. So I just kind of threw out seeds in the front. So we'll see what actually comes up, if anything. I don't know. One of them was onions, which I I don't like onions. I use them in things like sauces and salsas, but for eating, I'm not going to make a bunch. I'm not going to do a bunch of them, but it was pretty funny to see. I think there's 3 different types of. There was like onions, tomatillos. There was a third one. I don't remember what the third one was. Oh, I think it was bachelor button. I think it was more flowers. Yeah. So, whoops. Steve says, other than one low spot in the yard, most of the water flows off into my ravine, then down to the lake. You have a ravine? Wow. Well, at least you know where your low spot is. You can avoid it or know what you're walking into. Diana says they eat the tomatoes and the marigolds. The ducks do. Interesting. Those are the only things they eat in the garden. That is interesting. Aaron says we used house wrap from the hardware store to make our tarps. Awesome. I'll make a note to do a video on it this weekend. It really helped for the freeze a few weeks ago. Awesome. Yeah, definitely do a video. That'd be good to see. And it's house wrap. Awesome. Always good to have to use things for things that you don't expect it to be used for, right? To be able to say, oh, I'm going to look at this and I'm actually going to use it for this other thing over here. Because I know they do sell, tarps with the crank for like greenhouses and stuff. It's not a tarp, it's like a clear plastic stuff. But if you can get something, durable and cheap, then that's good. I know a friend of mine was saying that he uses, and I know Living Traditions Homestead also uses the billboard material. So like the tarp, I guess they use it as a tarp for the billboard material. And I have not looked into getting that at all, but that would also be maybe something good to look up too. Yeah. Steve says, speaking of your garden, did I miss the yard tour you were going to make? No, I was actually going to do it. And then it decided to rain for like a year. No, I am still planning on doing that. And I have not done it yet. Yeah. Yep. Keeping me on task, on point. Yeah. Yeah. So who else does things for your animals? We have some raised cages. We have some tarps. We have some signs to be used as wind blocks and all of that. Yeah, and garden. I know my garden. I'm just waiting to see what happens, and maybe I'll throw out some peas now that I know it's wet enough. I don't even have to pre-soak them, I'm sure. But maybe I'll do the peas and broccoli or something. Yeah. And then I know you guys are probably ready for starting seeds, or think you're ready for starting seeds. I'm going to do a video here soon. I don't know. Maybe let's do like a next Tuesday. Maybe, or this Thursday. I don't know. This week or next week, I'll do a video on showing you guys how to find your planting zone, and then also how to find your last frost date. Hint, you Google it. But I think some people, it's easier to see than to just say Google it. So I am going to have a video on that, and you should expect that I'll be starting to do some seed and planting videos. Yeah. Don says, my quail are on a roofed and screened porch. They don't get wet, really. Awesome. Good. I have a screened in porch as well. Right now, there's nothing in it. I do have the double-decker bunny hutch is out there. It does need the flooring repaired before we put babies in it. So I was going to move the babies away from mom's this weekend and decided against it. I didn't want this big storm to be like their first introduction to being without mom. So I'm hoping to do that maybe sometime this week. If not this week, then at least this weekend. They're 5 weeks old. So, or they were 5 weeks old on Friday, Saturday. And the moms were bred when they were like 3.5 weeks old. So I want to make sure they have time to dry off before they have more babies. Yeah. Let's see. Aaron says, I'm pretty sure my animals live a better life than I do. Well, yeah, with your heated doghouse. That's good though. I mean, the thing is, if your animals are taken care of, that's just a sign that you're doing good things. I mean, if you have animals, you have to take care of them first instead of, your own. So that's good. Andy Rabbit says, if it's going to be ice cold and wind, I wrap the cages and add water bowls. Good idea. Good idea. Aaron says, we started all of our seeds in the greenhouse except for our direct sow crops. Last frost date here is February 24. So we will plant in the ground 2 weeks before that. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I think mine's February 20. Something like that. Might be in March. I think it's I don't remember. November 20 is on the other side. I know that. I'll look it up when I do the video. I think I did just look it up like last week, but I always forget those things. Yeah, so we need to build a lean-to greenhouse still. That's something that's been on the list for, well, years. But I actually have most of the parts now free. So might have to buy a little bit of lumber. We'll have to buy the wavy PVC, clear PVC thing for the roof, and screws. So that's shouldn't be too much, but it'll get done. Dawn says, I just learned how to do the petri dish method for sprouting seeds to put either in hydroponics or dirt, which was faster than the way I was starting, and you lose a lot less seeds. Okay. Is the petri dish method just like you don't need a medium? You just put it in the petri dish with a little bit of water or with a damp paper towel? Because I know we did that in school at one point with I don't think it was paper towel. It was some other paperish product. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. Dawn says, if it's below freezing, my quail cages have heaters that I can use to keep water from freezing. I have heated one cage as a brooder to 75 degrees once too. Awesome. That's good to have set up even if you don't use it. Like, it's good to have that calmness of mind. You don't have to worry about it. You just turn it on. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, Chris says to plant Mother's Day weekend, so I'll be trying that this year if we don't have much rain. Yeah, so you're talking about Chris from Slightly Redneck. If you're in his area, then yeah. That doesn't apply across the country, but if you're in his area or have the same dates as he does, then definitely do that. Yeah. Hey, Witch Doctor's here. Good evening, she says. Good evening. Welcome. How is your storm going? We just kind of went over my storm. Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe the Sierra got most of it because you don't need to flood as well. Steve says, darn, our last frost is April 21 to April 30. Yeah. But you can plant stuff beforehand. Just know that you have to up pot it or deal with root bound plants. Yeah. Yeah. But you don't garden. You can find some place to garden, Steve. So for those people that don't have a garden, there's often towns often have a community garden that you can garden in. You can have a neighbor that doesn't garden that, has land. You can say, hey, can I garden for you? And you can garden for them and get some of the produce, and they can get some of the produce. That would be good, especially if you have like an elderly neighbor or elderly person or person who is disabled, so they can't do much physically. Then you can do it for them and then split the rewards. That's an option. And then you guys can forage, look up what you guys can forage in your area, and look at what you can actually do. And then you can also, I know around here there's tons of fruit trees that a lot of people have in their front yards, and they just let the fruit fall and don't eat it. And they probably go to the store and buy the same thing and bring it home, so you can approach them and ask them if you can pick fruit, bring them back a thing of jam. Yeah. So you can garden, you can grill a garden too, but I didn't recommend that. Everybody's saying hi to Witch Doctor. And Dawn says the Petri dish is with a damp paper towel. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, we've done that. I don't know if we use a paper towel or not. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, yes, Dawn's quail are a bit spoiled with the heater. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Witch Doctor says, Katrina, are you getting hammered by rain? We did. We had 2.23 inches, was a 24-hour total this morning. And that storm mostly came through at night. So that's we did get some rain in the daytime, but it was very concentrated at night. And we had tremendous storm winds. And actually, I didn't show you guys this. So I'll show this again. This is this stream crossing that I've been showing you guys. And this is the gate for the road up here. They actually had caution tape there. They had fire caution tape. One little girl that was there, she was asking why there was fire tape, and I said that's because they don't have flood tape. But I did take a picture of this. See if you guys can see that. See that word, tornado? Yeah, we were a severe risk, marginal, and a 1 for tornado threat. I don't know what that even means. I don't know what it's out of. But we were at a marginal risk of 1 for a wind threat and tornado threat. So it was very windy. I woke up because of the wind several times last night. Right here, we are completely fine, not flooded. Everything's fine. All the animals are fine. But the local highway got shut down. It had feet of water on it. And the local creek definitely flooded. That was the picture I just showed you guys. And it definitely flooded. That's the one that flooded over the freeway. Freeway, not highway. Freeway. And it also had a lot of evacuations in the area. But I'm in an area that doesn't. If I got evacuated for flooding, there would be like a really, really big problem. Yeah, but the wood chips in the yard have soaked everything in, and my overflow for the pond and the 2 downspouts on the back of the house has been working great. It did kind of slow up a little bit this morning, but I think it's going okay now. I'm trying to refill the aquifer. If nobody else is, I am. Yeah. Okay, so Andy Rabbit says I'm only a few hours away from Chris. Yeah, so any timing recommendation that he does, I would just use his timing recommendations, because he's definitely been there a while and experienced that. Yeah. Dawn says, Andy Rabbit, we must be in the same gardening zone. Mother's Day is the day to plant here too. I know when I lived in Central Oregon, the day to plant was when you see the jackrabbit on Mount Jefferson or Mount Hood. I don't remember which. It appeared with the snow melt. There is a picture of a bunny on the mountain. It was a lot of imagination to be used, but that was what the people, the historical, this is when you plant. Yeah, that's when that happened. Diana says, I'm in zone 6 and last frost day is around May 10. My dad said to plant potatoes on March 17 and tomatoes on May 10. Yeah. So I know that my potatoes on the side of the house, they failed. I think I know what happened as I put the compost directly from the rack and house onto that, and I really should have let it sit. So I failed on that last year. But I have had potatoes planted in a bucket, in a not bucket, but a container for several years now, and that I have not harvested, and I just haven't gotten to it. And it grows every year. So whenever I do get to harvesting them, that's going to be an interesting find in there. But they are already growing. They're a bit protected. They're underneath the passion fruit in the front right now. So they're a bit protected. So it's just interesting. I was like, maybe I should plant them now. But then if it freezes, then, it freezes. So, yeah. I know peppers, you always wait a little bit because they can stunt. Although I do have my peppers already planted because I have them in my green stock out in the screen and porch. So they're doing good. Which doctor says we've gotten a few sprinkles from this rain, but no flooding yet. Good. Yeah, we're hogging the rain. This last storm came through faster than they predicted. And we have another one tomorrow. So, yeah. And then I know the Sierra Mountains are getting hammered with snow. Yeah. Dawn says she's in zone 6B. I'm in 9B. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, I remember the saying plant potatoes on St. Patrick's Day with a green ribbon on them. They will push the ribbon up as they grow. Interesting. Hey, Psycho Ward. You're funny. Hi, Witch Doctor. You guys must not be in the same room. Welcome. Andy Rabbit says, Dawn, I think I'm in zone B, but I have to look every year. Yeah, I know what zone I'm in. It's the dates I always have to look up. And it's not just the dates, it's the counting backwards from the dates. Eventually, I would like to do a calendar and have those little stickers, but like helpful ones. That's not like go to the gym 5 times a year and go to the dentist 1 time a year. And you know how sometimes they have ridiculous ones in there? And it's like birthdays, 3. I would like to have things that say, 8 weeks until last frost date or 4 weeks before, first frost. Those kinds of things I think would be very helpful in a calendar. And I'm eventually going to be doing that at some point. That way you just find out what your date is and stick it on there. Yeah. Don says, I don't spoil my quail. Hubby, who says he hates them, built them some do-it-yourself heaters. He also loves to give them treats, but he hates them. Yeah. Yep. They're fun. Witch Doctor is laughing at you, Psycho Ward. Don says, Andy Rabbit, I think most of all of Missouri is in 6B, except down at the very tip 6A. I know nothing about the zones out there, except that they exist. Andy Rabbit says, for a while, I thought I was in zone 10 for some reason. Oh, no. So the USDA zones did change at some point, or there's another zone thing, and I don't know when that happened, but they went to like 36 zones. So you might have been looking at it during that point. I don't know if that's still active or not, but I know that was happening at some point, that they did this weird zone thing. So you may have been in there and in their map. Witch doctor says, but hey, they say the drought is over. People are asking that on Nextdoor. We have the thing where you can post stuff on Nextdoor, and people are saying, hey, does this mean the drought's over? It's like, no, all the water is going into the ocean. There's none soaking into the aquifers except for in my house. Yeah, so California is always in a drought. I mean, we've been in a drought for, I don't know, 50, 60 years, something like that. And then we have these localized, oh, this is a bad drought kind of thing. But what happens is we pump the water out of the ground to drink. And locally, how that water gets there is what people don't really understand. Now, I am, there's the coast, there's the Santa Cruz Range Mountains, then there's this valley. I'm in that valley. Then there's the Mount Hamilton Range, there's another valley, and then the Sierras. So that's a simplified view of this cross section of California. We get our local watersheds, and we do have reservoirs and stuff like that. But our water mostly comes from snowmelt from the Sierra and from the Delta, which is north. That's the bay, the north part of the bay, and comes in. And that's where most of our water comes to a big reservoir. Then it gets pumped all the way up here and then into percolation ponds. So that's what a lot of people don't know in this area, is that we're actually pumping water from way far away to go into the groundwater because we are depleting it so quickly and it's not being replaced. So without that, we would run out of, the groundwater would sink. And in fact, the San Joaquin Valley has sunk because I forget how many inches. It's a few inches that it has sunk in the past, several years. Because the groundwater isn't holding up the land anymore, because they've pumped so much out for the irrigation for these crops. So anyway, there's your short aquifer lesson. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, before I realized what the zone really meant, that is with the zone 10. Yeah. So the zone basically just means how cold it gets and how, that doesn't tell you when to plant. You need a couple different variables for that. Yeah. Dawn says, I just Googled last frost date and they have them set for each year. Mother's Day has been standard online. It says last frost 2023 is April 19th. I don't believe them. We can get snow in May. Yeah, I don't believe them for anything that you have that's going to be frost tender. I wouldn't say, oh, that's the date. I would look at your weather report at that time and then make your decisions there. Yeah. Psycho War says we're actually laying in bed next to each other. So you guys are you guys are like the modern teenagers texting next to each other, right? That's so funny. But you're home early, so that's good. Andy Rabbit says, I grow potatoes every year. Every year I dig them up, and small little potatoes and less than I planned on for 1 year, hoping for a good amount. Yeah. Potatoes are the things, like, you don't know how well they're going to grow because you can't see them. I had a couple, I think it was in 2020, I planted some in some cement sinks. My driveway out front has a bunch of pots, I guess. And I planted some in there, and one of them did really well. Another one did really well. And then what I didn't realize is that the drain hole on one of the sinks got plugged. So you guys know how nasty potatoes smell when they go bad in your kitchen or in your pantry? Yeah, that's the smell of digging up rotten potatoes. And I had to dig it out. It was nasty and a lot of loss. Luckily it was only this much, but you can plant a lot of potatoes in that space. So yeah. Andy Rabbit says, "Oh, I didn't know they changed the zones. Maybe that's why then." Yeah, I don't it's back to what it used to be. So I don't know if they were trying something or if it wasn't a USDA zones. I just know I saw it one time and I'm like, that's not what zone I'm in. It was a while ago, like several years ago this happened. Yeah. Witch Doctor says, "Why won't California reclaim the water?" So there's just so much water right now that it is overtopping existing reservoirs and it's overtopping existing things. Manuel's here.
Hello.
And so part of the problem is there's too much water right now to reclaim. Part of the problem is locally, one of our humongous, not human, well, it's humongous. Our biggest, I believe it's our biggest reservoir in the county, is not seismically stable. So it has to be at a dead pool. So that's what's happening locally. And then I know in the valley, well, maybe like 4 years ago, I was hearing about this and I haven't heard about it since. And that is, they were testing having farmers in the wintertime like berm up the sides of their orchards and literally letting the water go into those areas, directed into those areas so that it could percolate down. So I know that somebody is thinking about it. I don't know how popular that is amongst the farmers. I mean, they have to flood the crops and flood this and all that, but I know that they were doing that and I haven't heard anything for a couple of years about that now. Yeah, good question. Right now it's just so much they're overtopping the reservoirs that do exist. Yeah. And Andy Rabbit says, "Witch Doctor, someone would protest." No, actually, people want more reservoirs, and that's not the issue. The issue is the groundwater. You can build more reservoirs, but they're only going to be full certain number of years, and even in full years, you don't have enough water in other places. You can only pump water around to certain places. So, like the reservoirs within the county, I believe most, if not all of them, are connected in some way, so you can move water around. But outside of counties, it can be really difficult to move water around. And really, if you reclaim it into the aquifers, that's really what needs to happen, because then it's there. It's there throughout the whole aquifer. So, yeah. Someone who is more knowledgeable at that is who to talk to, not me. Yeah, I'll talk about it, but I know there's more knowledgeable people about that. Ed says, "Looks like I'm in zone 8A. Cool. You're Virginia, West Virginia. Where are you? Cool. You can grow, I think you can grow citrus there. Pretty sure. Yeah. Andy Rabbit, Witch Doctor's laughing at you. And Psycho Word saying hi to Ed. Steve says, "I'm zone 7B. The zone moves by about 13 miles north every decade." Yeah, so the weather is changing. So if you're near the border of one, you're going to have to know if you're warmer or colder, or what zone you should base yourself on. If you want to be more conservative, go with one zone over the other one. If you want to be more risky, go with the other one. Yeah. Ed says hi to Psycho Word. Andy Rabbit says, "1 year I will get an overrun with potatoes. I know it." Good luck. Good luck. And if you are trying for root vegetables, you can try other root vegetables. We grew, well, there's some out there right now, but Jerusalem artichokes are good. And they do taste good, and you do have to eat them slowly in the beginning because their other name is fartichoke, because they have some digestional impacts. But if you ease yourself into it, then you can eat them just fine. So that would be something good, but those do spread very readily. So like I planted them between the house and the walkway, and that's where they existed. And they're really pretty. They have a kind of a sunflowery flower on it. Pretty, yeah. S.O. Swanson says, Andy, use an Irish accent when you plant them. See if that helps. Andy says, I grow an expensive pound potatoes every year. Mine were expensive last year because they didn't grow. Hey, Steve saying hi to you.
Hello.
You want to say anything? How are the roads?
I had no traffic at all on the way back. It was very clear, and the way there, it was pretty crowded, but not like way too much. I did like 40 to 45 minutes to Los Gatos, and on the way back, it took me like 30 minutes. So it was
So you didn't have
not
any water on the road or
bad at all.
anything?
On the way there,
On the way there,
on
there's
the way
water.
back, no, it is pretty dry now.
Let me show him the picture I showed you guys. That's the crossing. Andy Rabbit says hi to you.
Hello.
Ed says Virginia Beach, close to North Carolina border. Okay, yeah, awesome. Hey, James Hardy, welcome. Refilling the aquifer is a great idea, although I don't think that the ground level will rise to accommodate as much water as it used to. Exactly. And I don't know any of the physics of that or any of the geology of that, but that is, I'm assuming that is probably true, because I'm assuming it'll just get saturated at that point. I know that there's a point in, is it 101 that gets flooded? 101, the freeway up in San Jose, there's a point that the groundwater comes up through the road. I don't, have you been on that? No, you didn't go there. Okay. But there's a point where the groundwater comes up through the road, and that is always wet. Even.
Oh, you're talking about by Luciesa. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you been there lately?
No.
Okay.
No, not this last week, but it's not been very wet.
No.
No.
101 flooded all the way across.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way, like 2 feet more.
Oh. Right here by Monterey.
where Uvis goes under, yeah, or over.
Oh.
Yeah. Refilling the aquifer is something that it needs to be done, and I know, like, a lot of people ahead of the storm, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, you should get your rain barrels ready." I'm like, I don't have rain barrels, and I should. Yes, I absolutely should, but I don't. And what I do have is all of my downspouts except for one, because I just haven't done it yet, and I don't know if it's going to happen. Go into the trench that I described earlier, that then percolates down into the ground. So my local whatever is underneath me is receiving water from my house, and it is amazing how much water the ground soaks up. I mean, I dug the trenches. Well, I dug the one back here for the pond, and the two back downspouts. That was about 4.5 feet deep by like 3 to 4 inches, 3 to 4 feet wide, and about that wide. I mean, it was about, well, I fit in it, so it's probably that wide. But that 3 to 4 feet long, and you pour a 5-gallon bucket in it and you watch it disappear. Like that's how, if you're going to dig one of these trenches or like a French drain or something, that's how much water should disappear very quickly. Is pour a 5-gallon bucket in and you see it disappear. And then he helped dig the one in the front, which has 2 downspouts. It has 2 downspouts going to it, and then I have one downspout over here that it just goes out into the front in the bark chips. But yeah, and I think that that's probably helping. It's definitely helping the aquifer. It's definitely helping the ground underneath my house. So yeah, and that the one in the front, how deep was it? It was deeper than the one in the back.
like 4 or 5 feet.
I think it was closer to 5.5.
Yeah.
It was about the same length and width, but yeah, it sucks down the water. You remember seeing all the water disappear when you did the bucket test, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went pretty fast.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that's refilling the aquifer is key, and they do have percolation ponds, but they bring water from elsewhere and put it in there. But um, when we're getting the amounts of water that we're getting right now, like we got 2.23 inches basically overnight, a little bit more into the day yesterday. Um, that is something that the earth can't deal with right now, right? She just sends it out to sea. Yeah. Um, Ed says, I have rain barrels, but have never got around to putting them under the downspouts, but they make great packing crates. Okay. Okay. I'm guessing you have the big white, what are they called? I don't know, the ones with the aluminum frame thing that goes with them. Yeah. Put them under your your downspouts. Psycho says mudslide closed down 168 near Fresno. There are a lot of mudslides. There's a lot of down trees. There's a lot of power outages. I texted with a colleague the other day, actually last week, that lives on the coast here. I don't know if you guys saw the footage from like Capitola. If you look up Capitola, it got flooded. That's on the coast. But I have a friend who lives up near Half Moon Bay area, and he had all the power lines, everything was down. You know, didn't have internet, anything. It took him 20 minutes to respond to a text of mine. I'm like, save your battery. Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff happening here. We have freeways closed by flooding. We have, like I said, trees down, mudslide. There was a mudslide on 101 as well, but he drove past it and he said, you didn't see it, right? At some point this morning, it was blocking one lane of traffic. So
I don't know if it was because I was on the right line and I didn't see it with the traffic on the other side, but I didn't see anything happening.
Yeah.
Anything happening there.
So that was yeah. Another neighbor turned around because of flooding this morning and said, "Nope, not going." Yeah, I was actually supposed to be in the field, and it got canceled. So that job got canceled. So that was good because I didn't have to be out in it. Yeah. So James says the ground above San Joaquin Aquifer is like 20 feet lower in some places. Yeah, I know it's not like a level drop. I know that, and I haven't honestly been paying attention. I just know that it's just getting worse and worse. But they had like a so many inches per year projection is what I had looked at last time I looked. Yeah. And San Joaquin Valley, and San Joaquin Aquifer is are you talking about the aquifer? Yeah. Yeah. So San Joaquin Aquifer is underneath the San Joaquin Valley, which is that big middle part of California, which is where there's a lot of agriculture that goes on there. I mean, California is an agricultural state. A lot of people think, everybody surfs to work. No, the main thing here is agriculture. If you're buying peaches, well, maybe not peaches because that's Georgia, but if you're buying almonds and all sorts of stuff, like even tomatoes, they might be coming from California. Yeah. Trees. So James says trees falling down because of grass being watered and not deeply irrigated. Yeah. So deep irrigation is important when you have trees. I know with my fruit trees, I do deep irrigation. And so you're supposed to do infrequent deep irrigation. And so deep irrigation just means you do a lot of water at once and then you leave it alone for a little bit. And then you do a lot of water at once and you leave it alone for a little bit. And depending on the age of the tree, that's gonna change how often you do it, and also what kind of tree. But I mean, I have all mine on the same drip systems; they all get the same amount of water because automatic timers are your friend. Ed says, "No, I have pickle barrels." Okay, They are gray with a black lid with a gasket on the lid. Oh, okay. On US full of military gear? Okay. I know which ones you're talking about now. The plastic ones that come up like this and then they have the lid up on here. Oh, Ed says one is full of military gear. Well, it won't get wet. Steve says the problem with filling aquifers is that it needs to be north of you to do much good. Your filling would help your southern neighbors. I don't know how the aquifer beneath me is set up, so not an expert, so I don't know. But it's helping something. It's better than it running out into the ocean. I think is that if everybody did what I'm doing, I think we would have a much healthier aquifer everywhere. I mean, it's not a hard thing to do. I mean, it's a hole you have to dig. I mean, you could use a big machinery and a scoop, but we use shovels. Yeah. Steve says our aquifer is like 200 miles north of us. Interesting. Hey, Sue's here. Hey. First time I've actually caught you live. Welcome, Sue. Awesome. Oh, my dad's here. John, he's saying hello.
Hello,
Welcome.
John. and it also helped that we were digging out tree, so that took a lot of the dirt from that area and give us a lot of room to work around it.
So he's talking about the trench we dug in the front that was more like 5-ish feet deep. We had these big crepe myrtles. They're not big. They were like that big around. There's 3 crepe myrtles. This is in the front. If you guys see where my what did I show you guys recently? Wolfberries and ground cherries, I think. And that area is what we're talking about. And we were digging those out to give them away. Crepe myrtles are just, I know people think they're pretty, and they are, but they are so messy. And apparently you might be able to eat them. I don't know. I'm not going to start rumors here. But I've heard that they are related to pomegranates and you can graft them onto it. I did not try this. But we dug those out to give them away because I wanted to grow food. There are pawpaw trees planted there by seed. They all came up and they're about this tall underneath all that mess. They're still alive. And yeah, so what he's talking about is we dug down quite a ways to get that root ball. And next to one of those, I think it was next to it. I don't think it was actually on it because we did that right by the driveway. Anyway, right next to there is where we dug that trench for all the water to go in. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, we have a lot of water. And yeah. Sue, is there anything in particular you want to talk about, or same question to my dad? We've been talking mostly about water and what else have we been talking about? Water and rain. That's pretty much the events right now. Oh, and we're way past an hour, but that's okay. We can keep talking. Yeah. So having a solution for water on your property is good. I know my dad's, he's going to have to correct me if I say this wrong, but they're in Central Oregon and they got 1/10 of an inch, I think you said, of rain or melted snow or something. And there was muck everywhere. We were talking the other day on the phone and he was saying, man, if we were getting enough, we were getting as much water as you guys were getting, he's trying to imagine what that would look like. And it wouldn't look pretty because just with 1/10 of an inch of rain, it's in the high desert and they get, slippery mud that cakes onto your shoes and gives you platform shoes as you walk on it. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, you have anything you want to talk about?
No. No subjects so far.
No? What do you think of the bunnies?
They're getting bigger. They're getting bigger and cuter.
Cuter?
Yeah.
He doesn't like to see the rabbits when they're born because they look like naked rats.
Yeah, they look like a naked rats, and I don't like touching them.
But then they get cute and fuzzy, and you're fine with
Yeah,
it.
as soon as they get furry, then they get they get a lot cuter. So they are they are more cuddly.
Yeah. And we are socializing Tortellinis litter so that we can keep one of them. I still haven't sexed them. I should do that this week because they're 5 weeks old. This last, a couple days ago, Saturday, and you can sex them before that. I just haven't. But if there's a girl in that batch, then we're gonna keep a girl. So we're trying to socialize them, socialize all of them because we don't know what they are to begin with, right? We should know by now. I just haven't looked. Yeah. So my dad says after about 2 inches of snow, it's mucky with a little bit of rain. Yeah, so snow also in that area, it's usually a dry snow. They did get some wet snow, but snow, I don't know if you guys know this, but snow has different moisture contents. So like if someone's talking about going skiing and they, get some powder, that means something different than if there's all the other um heavy snow. I'm not a skier. Apparently it's different. But it does hold different amounts of water. And if you are reporting snow, then that is you actually melt the snow to see how much water is in that. Yeah. Oh, Dawn's saying good night all. I have to get going. Thanks, Katrina. Thanks for showing up, John. Dawn. Thanks for coming. All right, let's go back up. Sue says, I am selling 7 of my birds to a friend from church so he can start his own bunch. Mostly he will do it for his family. Awesome. Awesome. And so you're going to be the person with the knowledge for them. That's awesome. Hopefully they like them and they'll get more of them from you. Yeah. My dad is asking, do you remember the baby mice in the shed in Carlsbad? No, I remember a possum that the dogs cornered. Is there a story that I should be remembering? Why are you bringing up baby mice in the shed in Carlsbad? Are you talking about the baby bunnies, how they look like naked rats? Yeah. Oh, Psycho Ward wants to know how's mom doing. I'm guessing you're talking about my mom. I don't know if she's on. I don't know if you guys are both on or just one of you. She's doing good as far as I know. Yeah. Aaron says, I just went walk outside to check my animals for the night. I see the biggest rat I've ever seen. Thought it was a cat at first. I hope that your barn is rat proof now. I hope you remember to close all the doors. Yeah. My dad says Manuel was talking about baby rats. Mama's watching, doing good. All right. Yeah. I don't remember the baby mice. Did I think they were cute, or did you dispose of them and not tell me about them? Maybe that's why I don't know about it. We were pretty little when I lived there. Yeah. Yeah. So Steve says, we met your mom, so she's one of us now. We have to be kept informed. You hear that? You should jump on here and start chatting away. My dad says, just a nest. I don't remember particulars. Well, I don't remember it at all. So it's okay if you don't remember particulars. I do remember that the dogs cornered a possum, and then I don't remember anything past that. I just remember that was my first possum encounter. Sue says a friend gave me an older Freedom Ranger hen, so now I have a new house pet. The eggs she lays equals 9 of my quail eggs. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Sue, is this the same chicken that you were talking to me about earlier with the you have a diaper? Do you have a diaper for her inside or have her potty trained? Yeah. That nine quail eggs. That's a big chicken. That's a big chicken egg. Goodness. Oh, price of eggs is what we were talking about earlier too. How the price has shot up and how Costco didn't have any when we went recently. When did we go? Was it last week?
Probably Friday or Saturday.
Was it then? Yeah, it was last week. Oh, this is another friend. Okay. Sue says, yeah. So you have 2 chickens now or 1 chicken? Sue has a house chicken. It's funny. Yeah, we're talking about the price of eggs, and it ranges right now from something like $3.80 all the way up to the $9 ones we saw
Where do you see 380?
in the Midwest.
Oh, not here.
Not here. No.
No.
You guys are confusing him. I think it was 380 was the lowest right now. Someone had said that they were 197, I think, earlier,
For a dozen?
like last year or something, or normal. I don't know how many years ago. Yeah, for a dozen. But not now. Not right now. And then Ed had said that the 36 count at Walmart went from 6 something to 16 something in a month between November and December.
16? Who pays 16 for
36
eggs?
for 36 eggs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, that's a lot. That's a lot.
A big carton.
Yeah. Psycho Ward says, "Yep, your mom was at your house last time we were all on last night. You guys haven't. I think Witch Doctor had been on since, but yeah, since you guys were both on, yeah. Sue has 1 chicken and 40 plus or minus quail. That's good. That's good. Yeah."
Hopefully they're laying a lot of eggs.
Oh, I think they are. Yeah, not 9. That's a humongous chicken egg. How big is that? That's like that big. It's like an ostrich egg almost. Not quite.
Or maybe the quail eggs are tiny, like the ones that we have seen, like a swan egg.
A what?
A swan or no?
A fairy egg?
No, well, yeah, but the bird that makes burrows of mud under the
Swallow.
Swallow.
Okay.
That.
Swan is the
That
one
was-
in the ponds.
Yeah, that was a
Like
a
a
different
little-
bird that I was thinking.
So we had a couple there's one last week and a couple the week before, right? That were the quail eggs are about that big. And there's one that was like that big. It was
Like somebody was having an easy day.
yeah, an easy day. And then there was one that we got that was like elongated and skinny. I'm like, okay, she had an easy day. Yeah. Wow, Witch Doctor says our Costco is selling quail eggs, not the jumbos, just the standard size. Wow, Costco. Maybe I should approach our Costco. If so, I'm going to have to ramp up business. Yeah, so that's something else that I noticed. Our eggs are large. About 10% of them either don't fit in the shell. So mine are in the aviary, and you know they get kicked around sometimes and all that. So about 10% of them are don't fit in the cartons, which is fine because those are ones that I actually sell in bags to people at volleyball, and they get bigger eggs and for cheaper. And I just have to make sure the label is on both sides. They said I can sell in bags as long as the label is on both sides, so that it can be read. Okay, weird, but it's okay. So that's what we can do with that. And then there are some cracked ones, and we end up eating those cracked ones, and that's fine because it's just cracked and it's fine. But you don't sell those. Yeah, but I know that there are in the Mexican market close to here, they sell eggs in a 10 pack, which is like, breakfast. And they're still, I think when I checked, they were still like $2.98 for a 10 pack. And you're right, they are tiny, tiny eggs. The ones that we have are definitely bigger eggs. If you have quail from my shire, the Coturnix quail from my shire, they're definitely going to be bigger than the ones you see in the store, at least here. Yeah, so my quail eggs, I think I just said on one of the Facebook groups that I haven't measured mine yet or weighed mine yet, and that's not altogether true. I haven't weighed them overall, but I took some representative ones and weighed their combined weights um, to see how much equals a large chicken egg. So you can go online and see what a large chicken egg is, how much the whites weigh, how much the yolks weigh, and then you can see how much that equals for your particular quail eggs or chicken eggs, But basically what I came out with is that 4 egg whites and 3 egg yolks of my eggs, of my typical eggs, equals 1 chicken egg, 1 large chicken egg per yolk and per white. And so basically I just say 4 eggs equal that, because I don't care if there's a little more yolk, that's not going to affect things too much unless you're a super baker and you want to be exact. In that case, you can take out that extra yolk and make something else with it. But that is true. They are much bigger than the ones in the store. And in fact, one of the ones in the store, it was I looked and the egg was put in upside down, and I'm like, I don't even think I can fit one upside down in the egg carton. Like, I don't think it would fit. Yeah. Yep. Um, Psycho Ward says Costco up here in Vegas actually selling quail eggs now because they were running out of chicken eggs. That's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, is that an assumption you're making, or did they say that somewhere? Because I should approach Costco. Yeah, got to get more quail, lay more eggs if that's going to happen. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I would like to know though if that's something that they said or not. Ed says, I don't get eggs anymore, and definitely not from Walmart. We have noticed that Walmart prices are higher than other store lately. Plus, half the stuff I order is always out and doesn't come. Yeah, if you're doing the online ordering or the DoorDash type stuff, I don't know what all the different companies are, but that kind of thing. Um, I've never done that, so I don't really know how it works. But things like produce, at least, I would like to pick out myself. um, but yeah, that's got to be frustrating to have something you're like, okay, I'm gonna have this and this and this, and then have it not in your order because they're out. I think last time we went to Walmart 3 weeks ago, a month ago, there was some. We walked through part of the food area. I don't remember why.
On Walmart?
Yeah, we were looking for something. Anyway, and there were empty areas. I remember seeing the cheese area was a little bit empty and part of the meat area was empty. So, yeah, living with empty shelves. Um, Sue says my eggs are a mix between regular and jumbo. Yeah, that's good. That's good. As long as you know what you're using them for and you use it. And if you're measuring something, you can measure it out or not. I mean, if it's an egg dish, I wouldn't bother being exact. If it's baking, maybe I don't know. I don't. I just go, hey, this is 4, and go from there. So yeah. Well, I think we're coming up on an hour and a half, so maybe we'll give it 5 more minutes and then call it a night, and then we can have soup for dinner. All right.
That works.
Um, Let's see. Sue says there was one farm back east that one chicken tested positive for AI. AI, if you guys don't know, is avian influenza. Not only is it artificial intelligence, it also stands for avian influenza. And they came in and killed 4 million chickens. So now you know why they're so expensive. Yeah, so that is happening. And the reason why they come in and kill them is because it has a 90 something percent death rate in the flock. So basically, they're choosing to kill them instead of having them die. And then whatever might have survived has the ability to pass it on to whoever comes up. So if they have chicks bringing into that or pullets into that area, they can infect. So yeah, fun. Witch doctor says a worker at Costco told us they ran out of chicken eggs. We took a photo of the eggs and packaging. You can send it to you later. Yeah, that would be good. That would be good to see. Yeah. Hi, Marianne is here. Welcome. Welcome. Help. I was culling today, but was interrupted for hours. Had already plucked feathers, placed them in ice water in fridge when interrupted. Inside still in. Is it safe to continue the process tomorrow? Thank you. Yeah, it's safe. So did you bleed them already? So were they already bled out? It should be safe. It might be a little harder because the rigor mortis may have started. I don't know if you saw my video on that on why to do an ice water bath, but it looks like you're doing an ice water in the fridge. So that's good. But if you've bled them, then that's good, and you can take the innards out. It's going to be a little harder than fresh to do because it's going to be stiff, but you should be fine. The other thing to do is to maybe after you do that, just set it in the water and make sure that you rinse out the water a couple times. And then when you put it away to go in the freezer, definitely make sure that you are rinsing them well and finding all the parts and stuff. And you should be fine. You should be fine. Hopefully you bled them out. Yeah. Okay. Yes, they were bled. Good. Yeah, and then let me know how that worked out. It's going to be a little harder to get everything out just because when they die they can tense up. But yeah, let me know how that worked for you. Hopefully it works well. Yeah, Steve says, Marianne, you would be fine to continue. Think of it this way: hunters shoot them and process hours later when they come home. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's always best to process it with pretty soon after you cull it, just for the fact that rigor mortis hasn't set in yet. But then also to get all the guts out and stuff. I mean, it's easier and probably better. I don't have any reference for why it would be better, other than I think it is. But yeah, you're safe to do that. Sue says the likelihood that all 4 million birds were in the same barn is very unlikely. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they do that per property or if they do that per barn, because some of these poultry places, they have like barn after barn after barn after barn. And usually, I don't know what's happening now, but I know that usually biosecurity in the past has been per farm. So people don't generally rewash everything and put on new boots and put on new clothing between barns. They might be doing that now. That there might be something new with that, but it might just be a death sentence for the whole entire property. I don't know. I would say keep your birds under cover. And that's the best way you can protect them. And then if you are in an area that has specifically waterfowl or other birds like waterfowl or other people who have chickens or have quail, make sure you disinfect your boots or your clothing. I keep a spray bottle of alcohol by the front door, so if friends are coming over and I have biologist friends who go everywhere. You go over, do everything. They're used to spraying down their boots and stuff. So, I had a friend over last week before, and he texted me. He said, "Hey, I'm here. You can bring out the alcohol." So I brought it to the gate, and he sprayed down. So that's good. And then, like, we went and visited where the floodwaters are. We spray down our shoes after that because we have no idea what's in that. AI is passed through, like, fecal matter is basically how it's being passed. So it's likely that someone tracked something in on their boots, honestly, in some of these things. I mean, they can be passed directly from the birds, that are near the sides, but I would imagine that they would have probably walled areas for that. So, yeah. Anyway, it's unfortunate, and I think all we can do is try and raise our own and be more self-sufficient in all ways, and know that this stuff happens. And I mean, you can enjoy your bird's company, and I know feed prices has really gone up, but it's still cheaper than eggs at the store, apparently. Right? Yeah. Ed says, my stuff is delivered by a Walmart employee in a Walmart van, but the delivery times are either 9 to 1 or 2 to 6. Don't have to pay for a tip or delivery charge, but it's a yearly fee. Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of places are doing, I think Safeway was even doing that. I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but a lot of people were doing that in the first couple of years of the pandemic. Yeah. They were doing that at first. Yeah. So Marianne says, yay, thanks a bunch. I will let you know how it turns out. Yes, definitely do. And it's safe. Just make sure you rinse the meat. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that maybe the bowel's relaxed, and you would have that. But if you rinse out the meat and change out the water more than you would otherwise, I think you should be fine. And of course, always thoroughly cook your meat. Yeah. And Marianne says, Steve, you have a point there. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. For hunting, that is definitely true. Definitely true. Yeah. Well, Marianne, I'm glad you could sneak in that question at the very end. I usually go for an hour, but you got us. So I think we're gonna sign off here. We're ready for some soup with some rabbit and some pasta in it, right? That's what we added. I made pumpkin curry, a canned pumpkin curry, pumpkins and potatoes in chunks. And that was a while ago. And then we added some bone broth to that to make it a little more brothy. And then it was too much broth. And so I'm like, let's add some pasta. That soaks up a little bit of broth.
A lot of it.
It did soak up a lot of it. And then added some canned rabbit. So if you haven't seen the bone broth video or the rabbit canning video, I have those as well. So yeah. Marianne says, have a great dinner. It sounds delicious. Thank you. It is. This is leftovers. Monday we've designated as leftovers or easy dinner. Yeah. So thank you guys for showing up and having great conversations. And we talked a lot about weather. Didn't even get to my second topic. I'll save that for next week. All right. Have a good night. And we hope that you are doing well and that this week treats you well. We'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. All right. 7, not 7. Oh, 7, you're going to miss it. 6 o'clock Pacific time next Monday. And have a good night.